Hey, this is Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, bringing you another video, and this time we are working through CodePipeline. So we were trying to set this up, but we had made a detour and started to set up our code build separately. Let's see if we can retroactively attach this code build to our CodePipeline. And the one thing that I noticed from other projects is that the source would be from CodePipeline, so I'm not sure if we have to recreate our pipeline here, but that's okay. So we'll go into here, and we need to add an additional step. So I'm going to go here and say edit, and we'll add a stage, and this will be our build stage. And we'll call this bake. These names do matter since I believe that we reference them later on. We want to go to code build here, and we want to choose source as our artifact. We need a project such as this one. This is what we were doing. We were building out that project there. We want a single build, which is totally fine. Variable namespace, choose a namespace for the output variables. You must choose a namespace if you want variables actions produced for configuration. We don't need any variables to pass along, but that is a more complex setup. For output artifacts, we don't need a name because it's just building an image. It's not doing anything in terms of passing things along. So hopefully that would be enough. Again, the source matters because if it's coming from CodePipeline, we don't necessarily want it to come from somewhere else, but what I'll do here is scroll on down, and the next thing is ECS. So, I mean, we didn't configure much for that. Let's just go in here and see if there's anything special here. CRUDder, backend Flask, image definition file. Enter the JSON file that describes the name of it. This is optional, so I think the thing is that it will pick up on that default name, the image definitions file, which is just called that. So I'm hoping that that works. That might generate out to a particular place, so we should take a look at where this actually will output, because if it doesn't know where it is, that could be an issue. So here, yeah, it pushes the repo. But the one thing that I'm noticing here is that we have the JSON file and it prints out, but this might be in the context of the CD directory, so I'm not sure if it will know where that file is. But what we can do is give it a go. So what I'm going to do here is say save, and we'll go ahead and save this. Saving your changes cannot be undone. That's totally fine. We'll go ahead and save that. So the one thing I'm really curious about, is it running already? Did not run yet. So let's go ahead and release changes and see what happens. Okay. I do find that CodePipeline is a little bit easier to configure via these CloudFormation, just because there are other parts that are a bit not clear in terms of the instructions, but I do really like CodePipeline for its simplicity and functionality. But we'll see what happens here. So I'm just going to wait for the build to do something. I'll be back in a moment, okay? All right, so the build was successful. The deploy was not so successful. Let's take a look here. It says invalid action configuration. I mean, we kind of expected it not to know where it is. Let's click into it. Did not find the image definition file, image definitions JSON, in the input artifacts zip file. Verify the file is stored in your pipeline's Amazon S3 artifacts bucket. Okay, so here, well, I guess we do have an output artifact, and it's the image definitions JSON file. So that's something that actually does matter. And I think when we did our code build pipeline, we were saying that there was no output artifact, which is absolutely not true. Let's go here and see what we can edit in terms of the outputs. So I'll go into this build. I'll go open this up. And what I'm looking for here, choose a name for the output of this action. And this stuff is always kind of hard to remember, honestly, but I've done it a lot of times. So let me go take a look at what I can find, okay? All right, so this is actually for our upcoming weeks here where I have some CloudFormation templates. These aren't exactly what they're going to be for the end result. What I'm going to do is go into in here, I'm going to take a look at our the CloudFormation and see if I can make sense of it, because this has a whole pipeline in here, right? So here we have the source. You can see it's using that CodeStar connection. And then here we have an input artifact and then the output artifact. And then we have a configuration project name. So here it says image definition. Sorry. So Yeah, so the output artifacts, we're going to give it a name, I guess. I'm just trying to translate it over here. So we'll say, oops, let's make sure that's not there. So we'll just make sure that is the name. Okay, so that is that part there, image definition. Did we set anything else in here, like variables? I don't think so. No, that's fine. This is what I was talking about where I said like I was using code zip and things like that. And then for the deploy, it needs it as an input artifact, so that makes sense. So let's say done, and I'll go down here and I'll just see what the input is. Because here it says source artifact, which is not true. What we actually want is image definition from the bake, right? Because at this point, it doesn't have that information, so this one would have it. And now, if we deploy this and it doesn't work, we can just open up the zip, because the artifacts go somewhere. We can take a look and see what it actually has to work with and figure out what the issue is. So I'm going to just save this pipeline, and then what we're going to do here is just hit release changes. Yeah, sometimes you can retry from different steps. I don't know if that would work because this might not output the artifact, so we do have to run it again. And I'll see you back here when this either succeeds or fails. Right now it's running this step, but we'll see what happens, okay? All right, so we have a slightly different problem here. It actually failed at the build step, which is surprising because before it worked with no issues. So we'll go ahead here and say execution fail. We'll go into the view code build. We'll see if we can pinpoint the problem. I'm scrolling down here to see if there's any problem here. It says upload artifact failed, client error, no matching artifact paths. So that's what I thought, is the fact that this file here is in a different location. We can easily fix this either by CDing back or maybe specifying the path better. I would rather just CD to the base path here and doing this, because that will just make things a lot easier. So that's what I'm going to do at this stage. I'm just going to CD here and place that there. I'm just going to make sure there's nothing additional that I have to have. I think all this is doing is taking those environment variables and placing them, or yeah, in here. So yeah, one is the echo. Basically, this is the same line. It's just echoing out the content so that we can see it, and then it actually shows the command next. So nothing super special there. But yeah, I think CDing back there will fix this. So go CD back a directory to fix the build spec. And for this, we'll need to do a merge. Now, one thing I'm not sure is that because we built out the code build separately and then added it before, I noticed that the source was for code build. I wonder if it'll build twice or just once. It'll be smart enough to only build once in code build. Let's find that out next. So I'll go over and we'll go to prod. And then I'm going to find my branch. Yours is going to be main, but mine is week 9, right? Okay. And we'll create that pull request. We'll go ahead and create that. And we need to merge it. Great. I'm going to go back over to code build. I want to see what this project ends up doing here for a moment. So if I go over here, we only have one, and that's what I want. I didn't want to see 2 of them here, so it is only doing 1, I think. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm just going to go over to a new tab here. This is build number 20, and we'll go over to CodePipeline. And I just want to see if CodePipeline was triggered. Yes, it is. Great, so it's smart enough to know like that we attach that project, and now the source is from there every time. So we'll just wait here for this to finish, and I'll be back here in a moment, okay? All right, so we have another failure here. Let's take a look here and see what it's complaining about now. It might be the same error, as we might find out here, and we'll scroll on down to the bottom, and it says no matching artifact paths. No matching artifact, skipping invalid file path image definitions JSON. So just taking a look here. Running this command here. So that's interesting. Skipping invalid file path. Interesting. I'm not sure what its issue is, but it doesn't like something. So give me a second, okay? Oh, you know what? We didn't take this part out. I mean, that's going to make it a little bit hard, don't you think? So I'm going to go ahead and save that. That's like the one thing we want to change. Actually fix the pathing for image definitions. We'll go ahead and save that. We'll sync our changes. We'll go back over to here. It's not building anymore if we refresh. Yep, so it's on to 21. Why is there 21 here? It didn't run 2, did it? Again, that's what I'm worried about, is that it might be running 2. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here and we'll do a... Well, first one, it failed for a different reason, so maybe it's not the same, but we'll go to our pull request. This is the wrong repo. That was just an example one. We'll go back over here. We will try another pull request here. We'll say new pull request, prod, week 9 again. We will go ahead and create this pull request. We'll create it. We'll merge it. We'll confirm it. Go back over to here. Refresh. We're watching for 22 to pass. We can click back here into CodePipeline, or just get back to it however we want. Get back to the pipeline here. And we'll just wait for this to finish. I'll be back here again, okay? All right, so now we're back here and we can see the build pass and then the deploy succeeded, which is pretty cool. Not that we got to observe the deploy, which would have been fun to do, but I would have had to pay closer attention here. Let's make our way over to ECS. If it is this easy, that'd be awesome. So I'm going to go over here and we'll go over to the CRUD application here to the backend. We'll go to configuration tasks. Are there any running tasks? It shows none running, but that could be because of the desired capacity that we have. I might have it set to 0 right now. I might have just turned that down, but let's go take a look at what functionality we can see. It actually takes us over to here. Right now it says it's healthy, but there are 0 tasks running. Did they launch any recently? No. So I'm sure that it's working. We just have to go ahead and update the service. I'm going to turn this back on to the desired task to be 1. I'll just turn on force because I like to. And we'll go ahead and hit update. And so if we really want to know if this is working, let's get the app running. We'll observe something in the application. We'll make a minor change. And then we'll deploy it and see if it works. So I'll be back here when this service is healthy and accessible. Okay, be back in a moment. All right, let's take a look here if it's healthy. So mine runs on CRUD, right? So I can just go to api.crudder.com and that's totally fine. We'll do something API health check. I can't remember what this returns. So success is true. What we can do is add an additional JSON thing there, and that's how we'll know that we have changed it. And I'm just going to go into our backend here, into our app.py, and over here we have a health check. So we can just type in health check. And I'm just going to go here and say like version 1 like this. Totally doesn't mean anything. It's just something as a piece of data for us to have here. So just add a change to the health check returned data. Okay, so we'll go with that, sync it. And then we'll go over to where are we going to? We're going to back to GitHub here. GitHub. And we'll go over to AWS Bootcamp. And I was just talking to Duan, and I was just telling him, like, yeah, this is what went wrong with the code build. It's like funny that we didn't notice the networking thing. But, you know, it's really hard when you're doing a live stream. It's like, you know, like those NVARs, they didn't need to be in there for the runtime. It's just that, you know, when you are on live stream, you're just managing too many things, and the most obvious things that you already know get missed. So, but anyway, we'll go over to pull requests here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new pull request. We'll go here from prod to week 9. Again. I'm gonna go ahead and create that pull request. We'll create it. I'm gonna do my best to try to capture the like observing the deployment, because I think that's an interesting part here. So I'll just try to be quick on the finger here. I'm gonna watch this carefully for when it actually enters into the deploy step. I'm gonna go back over here to the cluster and just get set up for under here. And the idea is that we'll be able to refresh this here in a moment. So I'm just gonna carefully watch this. I'll be back here in a moment, okay? All right, I have a feeling that this is going to move over to the deploy very soon, so I'm just going to get ready here, and we're just going to watch it along here. It shouldn't take too long. It will be really interesting to see if we do get to building the front end pipeline, because we're only doing the back end right here, but the front end, right now we do have it sitting as a container. But the idea is that sometimes you have to synchronize multiple deploys because your front end and back end have to be matching. Or you have to have a way of having graceful deploys, like or I should say like flag deploys, so that you are changing an API version and then the next one is being rolled out, so that, I don't know. There's a lot to deployment when you're working with containers, but we'll just give it a moment here because it takes around 2 minutes for this to go, and then it should move to the deploy step. So come on, let's go. I'll pause. I'll be back in a second, okay? There we go, it succeeded. So now it's going to the deploy step. I'm gonna go over here and we're gonna refresh and see what's happening. So I just wanna see, I think it's gonna spin up another one and then spin it on the other one here. So I'm just refreshing, hardcore. I'm not sure if we can look at any of the details while this is deploying. I'm gonna go over here. There we go, so it's provisioning another one. Yeah, and so, it just takes us to the same place. So that's all it's doing. It's just going to spin up another one, and then when it's done, it's going to deprovision the old one. So pretty straightforward. Code deploy is something that is pretty cool as well. I suppose we could use it, but the thing is that I think that I don't know if it'd be, I don't know. So like code deploy has a bunch of hooks that you can run. But that makes sense if you aren't baking the image. So we are baking the image every time. So I don't see a reason why we'd have to run code deploy, because code deploy, it runs a bunch of scripts or hooks afterwards and shifts the traffic over. So I guess if you weren't rebaking your image, which I don't know why maybe you'd have like a base image and then you download the code and code deploy and then run stuff. I guess that's something you could do. But that's not how we're doing it. So you can see this just switching it over. So pretty straightforward. We'll go back over here and just wait till this is done. So I'll be back here in a moment, okay? And it's still going. I'm waiting. I think the reason it's just taking so long is because it's performing the health checks against the ALB. So that's probably if we go over to EC2 and we take a look at the ALB, I bet that's what it's waiting for, is the health check to pass under the target group. So you go here, and it might have already passed by the time we get to it. But if we go into, into the back end here and we look at the targets, yeah, you can see that it's still initializing it. So once this this is health initialized and then it receives a health, and it does, it will start to pull down the old one. So that is what we were waiting for it to do. So this should not be considered done until the old one is gone. So we'll wait here for a moment. All right, so we can see the old one is draining here, so it should be gone in a moment. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time, but I'm just trying to show you each stage here so that you can kind of have an idea of what it looks like as it is switching over. Over here, we can see this one is running. If we go back over to the cluster, does it show anything draining? Nope. So if we go back over to our target group, sometimes there's a bit of a delay for it to notice this stuff. So it's already gone, and it's still trying to say like, hey, I think you're still here. We're just going to drain it slowly just in case. But it should be switched over to the new one, but we'll wait till this is 100% done here. All right, still going. Go back here and take a look here. I know it's done, so go to backend app here, targets. It's that darn draining's taking frickin' forever. And here it doesn't show anything draining, so it's really just over here. It's waiting for that to happen, so this is considered done. So that's something that we might want to speed up, because that's kind of a bit of a headache. Taking too long for target group. It's really annoying. 300 seconds. So 60 divided by, or 300 divided by 60. 5 minutes, that's forever. I remember there's a way that we can, so it's like when you deregister target waits until in-flight requests are complete. There are no in-flight requests. Nobody's using the darn app right now. Okay, so there it is. There's definitely ways that we can speed that up. I mean, it's just taking a second for this to figure it out because these are all determining it, but it's going to say in a moment that it's done. Now, we know it's done. I'm just going to go ahead and test the app because I'm getting tired of waiting. So I'm going to go here to crudder.com, right? And we know that doesn't work. That's fine. So we'll go API, health check. And notice it says version 1. And now it's green. Okay, so there you go. Our pipeline is done. And this is probably the easiest week, to be honest. There's really not much else to do unless we had the static website moved over. We could be working on like a pipeline for deploying to CloudFront or S3 in CloudFront. But for now, this is done. We are in good shape here. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.